Yes, Peter, in his second epistle, he not only makes that problematic statement about God is not willing that any should perish, but in the second chapter, he goes on about those false teachers and false prophets who, in their destructive and wicked behavior, even go so far as to deny the Lord who bought them. And this becomes a very frequently used Arminian verse to suggest that Christ has purchased redemption for even these godless people who are on their way to destruction. And I have to say, to be perfectly honest with you, this is a difficult text for a Reformed person to deal with. Because on the surface, it does seem to suggest that Christ bought the redemption even of those who perish. And that would suggest an atonement that goes beyond the saving of the elect. Now, but there are some very important ambiguities in this text. This is treated in great detail, by the way, in John Owen's Death of Death. The first question is the text really referring to Jesus? Now, it may be, but there is this little quirk in the text where the term Lord here is not the normal kurios, but it's a different Greek word, and it is the word that is used frequently for God, the Father, but almost never, and in fact, according to some commentators, never is used for Jesus. And so it's not the speaking of being bought by Jesus, which is the language we use for the atonement, but rather would refer to some benefit that God purchases or provides for people. Like you have in the Old Testament, God brings everybody out of Egypt, and they all experience the benefits of the Exodus. But not all of those who are brought out of Egypt are numbered among the elect. And it could be that these false teachers have enjoyed the benefits of the light of the gospel, but they're denying the very source of those benefits. Not that they have been brought into a state of salvation. John Owen would argue that this not only does not refer to Jesus, it does not refer to his act of purchasing redemption for the elect on the cross, that which is bought falls short of the purchase of redemption, because there's nothing here about the blood of Christ, nothing here about the atonement, nothing here about the purchase of redemption. Those are things that we add into the text, that the text does not actually say. Another possibility is following the typical type of arguments that we find in the New Testament, particularly with the Judaizers who may be in view here, that they're saying that if you teach this false doctrine and really believe what you're saying, in the final analysis, you're denying everything about Christ. And that would indicate that it's not that these were elect people who fell away from their salvation, and if they had been saved, if they had had their souls purchased by Christ, then their ultimate end would not be destruction. And if we read the rest of the second chapter, you see that these are really godless people, immoral from beginning to end, who are denying everything there is to deny about the character of God, the nature of God's redemption of the Jewish people, and it could be, again, with a relationship to the way in which God has purchased Israel in the Old Testament, bringing them out, and now these false teachers are denying that, who denied denying the benefit of their Jewishness that they had. So I don't think that the text actually necessarily teaches that these godless people were purchased by Christ on the cross. In this text, the word Lord, that is translated by the English word Lord, is the Greek word despotes. We get the word despot from it. But again, that word is next to never used with respect to Jesus.